I'm so happy to be here with you today to discuss the issue of real estate, industry, and business in the COVID, still continuing, and hopefully in the post-COVID soon. Post-COVID soon, because I see the vaccines coming in very soon, hopefully by end of December or certainly in January. And I think that will make a world of a difference. If that doesn't happen, then we will have to wait till March before things can actually turn around in terms of the health sector is concerned. Because as the Prime Minister correctly puts it, Jaan hai to jahan hai. So it is quite a correct interpretation that we have to save the lives of our people, and the focus which he has done in terms of the lockdown had succeeded. However, the consequences on the economy have been severe. From a positive GDP growth to a negative GDP growth, guesstimated at minus 10% and even lower than that. All these are challenges which we have definitely faced in the economy. Worst, of course, is the issue of labor, unemployment. People who have been on the street, migrant workers walking back 1,000 kilometers to their homes. All this is a sad plight of people, especially since there were trains in the yards and there were buses in the depots. And still, people walked 1,000 kilometers to go back home. Some even died on the way. All these have been negative in the last couple of months, in the last 10 months, and a sad story, so to say. However, the last 60 days have seen definitely an improvement. The economic side, a large amount of industry in terms of steel, in terms of cement, in terms of other consumer items have seen an upward blast, even to the extent to which Maruti is now manufacturing full-blown and is talking about 90% of its production capacity already. Real estate also has picked up. A large amount of restructuring has happened for ready goods. A one-time rollover has been announced by the Reserve Bank of India for those companies. A Swami Fund has been organized for the developers for stuck-up projects, which is a positive thing done and managed by State Bank of India. So these are the aspects from a positive part of it, which is really moving up the way. Migrant workers are now coming back, and the medicines which are there today are helping the marginal people or the people who are early diagnosed to do it. Of course, elderly people and those with comorbidity are still in difficulty and need to be taken care of beyond a point. Education has suffered, especially for the marginal sectors, while the rest have been able to do online education. And even in my educational institutions, I have already 45,000 students online, and we have already got online examinations taking place. So all this has really meant that the digital economy is working. E-commerce also is taking a very fast track forward, and some of the neighborhood shops have also saved the day. So all this, if you look at, has really helped to restore confidence in some measure in all these. What are negatives? We still don't have the suburban railway lines moving in Mumbai. And that's a sad plight, because people who are poor, who are lower middle class, who had housing far away from the city centers in places like Nalasopara, Virar, and distant places, can't afford to catch alternative transport to come back to the city center in order to do their jobs. And this is really taking a pain. A lot of people, restaurants, hotels, all these segments are also still in difficulty, though some opening out has taken place in the recent year. However, I am a very, very bullish person in terms of 2021. Couple of things have already happened. As I mentioned before, vaccine is around the corner. We are looking at a very positive sign in terms of infrastructure getting back to normal. Real estate is seen as a pickup in the last 60 days. Sales have definitely picked up. Ready goods are being sold very strongly. People who have got the work from home and have the capacity are already buying larger apartments for themselves, better quality apartments, and are trying to move into bigger areas that are really taking the place. So we do see a positive element in year 2021. My gut feel is that if the cards are played right, we can turn from a -10 to a +5 GDP growth by mid or end of 2021. But as I said, you have to play the cards right. And that is a big question mark. Investments into infrastructure, investments into capital goods, all this is taken a backseat in the private sector. People are reluctant to do so. That confidence must come back. Government has been spending more, but many of the statistics don't justify the adequacy of expenditure from that sector. But we are hopeful that that will be increased, whether it is roads, whether it's railways, whether it's ports, whether it is health infrastructure. All these, hopefully in 2021, will see another innings. So long and short of it is, I do believe that the economy will roll back. The marginal sectors, some of them are being taken care of by the government. Many have not. All these sectors will have to be taken care of. Fortunately, food surpluses are here to stay. Earlier, with stocks within our godowns, plus the surpluses of agricultural products have taken place. So all in all, wonderful thing as far as food is concerned. So, but employment, Manrega has taken a little bit of a beating, but the urban unemployment is a pitiable sight where people who were otherwise self-sufficient are now going around with a begging bowl. And this is something which I think needs to be corrected very quickly. So we look at industry very positively in the next 12 months from today. And hopefully the harnessing of the COVID-19 will take place early in 2021. And then we take forward all the issues in terms of improvement of economy, opening up of the economy. As the Prime Minister wants, we should be self-sufficient, Atmanirbhar Bharat, and all the other factors hopefully will be able to see the light of day. So these are my initial thoughts, which I was asked to express. I'm quite open to your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani. I think it's always good to hear you, and the optimism you bring in is good for the industry, because a lot of people actually follow you, including me. So some of the questions I would like to take on, one is what kind of government policies you would have actually seen, especially in the real estate sector, which I think can give us some kind of a boost, because we were talking about a lot of policy, and I discussed with you this about 5-6 months back, but we've not really seen so much of a proactive policy making, especially when it looks to real estate. So if you can highlight maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things which can really help the sector at this moment, what would be those?
So the thing which is working very well, but not in places like Mumbai or Delhi, is the PMAY scheme, the Prime Minister's Awas Yojana. The scheme has worked very, very well. However, there is a cap of 45 lakhs of rupees for those apartments, and hence they don't fit into the scene in Mumbai and the small sizes of apartments. However, through the country, it has worked very well. 1.1 crore houses will be completed by 2022 or 23 because of the COVID. And this has got an interest subvention of 3% for 15 years. So that's a big benefit which people in that segment are getting. Second, the GST will be only 1% as compared to the others. In places like Maharashtra, the stamp duty, instead of being 5%, and of course now 2%, is only 1,000 rupees for such apartments. So all in all, this segment in terms of the lower segment is definitely being taken care of. However, due to the cost of land being high and the ready reckoner rate or the jantri rate or the circle rate is too high, and the cost of land is still ostentatiously very high and causes a lot of difficulty in terms of procurement of land at affordable rates. So we are not able to create housing of that kind in the cities. The second part is that The correction in the stamp duty is good. And the third is the Swami Fund for the projects which are stuck. Those people are getting funding for the last mile funding that is required for these projects so that they will come out of the way. So I think all in all, there are measures taking place. However, the pain is still there in this industry, and the requirement of funds have gone up. Sales have been very slow. They are now picking up extremely well, but the backlog is still there. And those people who have not been able to restructure their finances well under the circumstances are facing a tight situation wherein they are not able to complete the projects. And that's the challenge which we will have to rectify. But I am optimistic that this bad period will be over. For real estate, no, for the entire economy. And I think there will be changes. For example, the work from home and other things are taking place. E-commerce is taking place. A lot of retail is suffering. There is a consolidation which is taking place in this industry and other industry. All this is the new reality and a new world. A post-COVID world will be different than the pre-COVID world.
Absolutely right. And I think you're right. The Prime Minister, low-cost housing, has done well in smaller cities, but not so much in Delhi and Bombay. Gurgaon has seen some traction. Gurgaon, a couple of projects have done extremely well, but not in the scale which we need to do. And this would need to be corrected because of the real estate land cost, and especially in Mumbai, I think that needs to be re-looked at. So another point I would like to take is that there's a lot of now corporate brands coming in. Corporates are entering into real estate. So almost every large corporate has seen entering real estate in last 4 or 5 years. And they are leveraging obviously their equity which they have. Do you see some kind of consolidation, Kate? Do you really see that there would be a fragmented operators be able to really survive? And as an industry leader representing the large amount of developer community, what would be your suggestion on that?
So the corporates are in. I'm very happy about it, and I'm glad that they are also co-investing into this sector. It's very important because the sector required large number of corporates to come in. Also, a lot of fresh input of capital is coming into it by them and because of them. So a lot of funds are available, which investments are taking place project-wise and corporate-wise. This is something which we are seeing. The brands are definitely able to sell better and faster in view of it. And in spite of the COVID situation, people are buying from these brands even on the websites, through the websites, without actually seeing the projects. So I think having corporates and their brand come into the economy in the real estate field is extremely good for the industry. And in the long run, this is going to be there. On the consolidation side, it's natural. In any recessionary position in any economy worldwide, consolidation will take place during recessions, whether it will be through the NCLT route or it will be through direct consolidation, which people come up because of lack of funds or finance available for them, either capital or debt. These are things which are natural. But India, the changes take place much slower as compared to the Western world, where it is all gunshot that things happen in Chapter 11, for example. But here, the process is a little more dilatory. And with the COVID, the question of there has been a suspension of the activity under the NCLT. And all these things are definitely helping the developer for the moment to carry out for the day. However, that is not going to continue for a long time. And those who are not having funds to complete the project are facing that difficulty and need to restructure either through the methodologies suggested by the Reserve Bank of India or otherwise.
You're absolutely right. And I think next quarter or maybe next 2 quarters would see a lot of NCLT cases coming up, because I think that whatever we were able to pass through these last 6-7 months would not continue further. This would mean that a lot of dispute resolution needs to come in, and rather than just an NCLT route, I feel that a lot of proactive approach by consulting firms and other places to really find some kind of solutions before it gets onto the entire, because the NCLT also has not been so helpful. If you see particularly for real estate space, there is not dispute resolution has been a huge challenge. My next question is about commercial real estate, because of this work from home and other things going on, and a lot of contracts not being renewed or not asked, or new fresh demand is not being created. So what do you see the overview 2021 for the commercial real estate?
So in the short run, Gaurav, what you're saying is absolutely correct. And in the short run, there is a lot of difficulty. People are canceling things. People are working on it. They are not too sure about the work from home, how much is going to happen, what are the issues, especially on the retail side rather than pure commercial things. So there have been cancellations and deferment of taking of properties on rent and lease also. I, however, have differing views from all the rest of the opinion makers who have come into the marketplace. I do believe that once the economy moves on a positive trend, so from a minus 10%, when we go into a plus 5%, for example, then the demand for commercial real estate will pick up, irrespective of the work from home channel. Because any growth of industry to the extent of that will commensurate always require commercial spaces. So whether it is for the offices which are directly concerned, or in terms of supervisory work, or IT or international IT satisfaction, I don't think that in the long run demand is going to go. But yes, what you said, Gaurav, is right. A percentage of it will now be work from home, and that may happen to a lesser or greater extent depending on the company, corporate type of business and others. But believe you me, it's not going to be holistic. But the answer is right, that to some extent it's going to be affected. But that is going to only benefit the residential side, because people will want bigger apartments, better quality of apartments, better common spaces, different facilities at their home front, which they didn't bother about today because it was work from office, and they've spent more time in their working day, awakened day in their office rather than at their residences. So that change will take place, and more residential sales, larger size residential apartments will be needed for those who can afford it. So those are the challenges which are there. But long term, with I think GDP going back to say 5% plus, 2021 may not see a good day for commercial, but 21-22 will. So I look at it positively, because I do believe that India will get back to its growth path.
But it would not displace the equilibrium of demand supply, which means that when the supply is now going to be not there, because they would stop the projects of further development, and when the demand really comes back, we would have issue, which happened in the retail infrastructure. If you really see, in the early times, we had shopping malls, everybody building shopping malls, and this was done, and we were not able to fulfill that. And then suddenly the demand came up, we didn't have an infrastructure to supply. So how do we really balance that piece? Because this is a very unpredictable structure. And if you don't really start mobilizing the capital at this moment, these are long-term projects to be delivered. So a lot of companies with the pure commercial players are shying away to commit 2021 for new development. So would you have that issue?
Mr. Marya, let me tell you, the contrary is true. The reason is that the international players who are long-term investors into real estate, commercial real estate, are buying real estate left, right, and center. They are investing and co-investing with large number of developers to grow real estate. Somehow or the other, they believe more in India than we do. And they do believe that there is a long-term positive growth in terms of real estate, that is commercial real estate, that is going to take place. So when large investors worldwide are bullish about India, why should Indians not be equally bullish about India in the long run? So I personally, I refuse to agree with the naysayers who believe that Indian commercial real estate is not. But yes, what you're saying, Gaurav, is correct in the short run. The short run, definitely the people are there. With the COVID being there, work from home has become a mandatory position. Obviously, there's going to be a problem at this point of time, and the growth may not be there. But real estate is a long-term business. You can't grow houses overnight. You can't plant the seed and get the fruits and harvest in 3-4 months. You have to invest into land, property, get approvals, build the buildings, make it ready, and then make it ready. It takes at least a year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on the size of the project and the infrastructure it requires. So I am bullish in the long run. Yes, conservative in the short term.
No, absolutely right. And I completely agree with your viewpoint. And I think you're right. The larger international community is looking India very, very differently, and the kind of investment which is being committed to market. And I think the Indian confidence is a little bit shaken in the market because of, I think, also a lot of good news should be expected from the industry. And that's my next question and maybe last question. How do you really bring the confidence in average investor to look at investing back? Because I still feel that the real estate still continues the most promising asset class by investment. Why the industry would not come together and create a larger confidence, which we see the other asset class. If you look at mutual fund industry, you look at any other industry, they create a lot of confidence building. And you can see the last 15, 20 years, the kind of investments have gone in these sectors. Why would real estate not come as a together? And you being the pioneer and a front leader of the industry, what message you would have for everybody to really build the overall home buyer confidence or investor confidence to invest in the why they should not continue to wait for price corrections and things like that? Why that we cannot build the confidence that this is the best time to really invest in the real estate cycle?
Gaurav, this is not a problem only of Indian real estate. It's a problem of Indian investor and entrepreneur. Everybody is looking at the thing by a wait and watch method. And they are all trying to say, how long will it take till it comes back? When is it going to be okay? Should we invest now? Is there likely to be another fall? Is there going to be a resurgence of COVID? All these are questions running in the minds of entrepreneurs, businessmen, and other investors. However, we see long-term players are aggressively investing. Look at the large companies, whether it's an Ambani, whether it's an Adani, whether it's large players who are doing big investments, they're doing it any which way. They believe in the country, they believe in the long-term investment. Look at many of the smaller investors, they are also doing it. But the bulk of the investors are waiting and watching. So that is the challenge. So it's not real estate alone. And I do believe that both the rest of the economy and real estate will come back. And players like us who do believe in the long term of the economy do put in the money today for tomorrow. So we continue to put in the money. Not everybody is capable of doing it, or not everybody is willing to do it, or a lot of people are afraid that how the country will perform in the long run. And I mean, it's up them to think of what the future is going to be. And as I told you, that we continue to invest. But you're right, not everybody is investing today, and that is a problem for the country. Of investments not taking place of the size and scale and breadth and width that we do need in the country today. But it will happen. Once the tide turns, then everybody will say, "Arey, let's do it."
Absolutely. And I think this is all about the timing, and next quarter would play a very, very significant role. If we are getting the vaccine and everything comes back, I think our rebound also would happen very, very fast as an economy. And we are already started seeing a big traction. As you rightly said, this last 6 months, we've seen a phenomenal amount of traction from NRI community investing back in India, especially residential side. It has benefited only a couple of large corporate brands, not so much in the wider sense. And I think that's something which would happen. And even India, I think the next quarter would play a very, very important aspect for how we do that. And it has to be a collective industry effort, a government effort. Then only I think we will be able to bring back the industry. Any last remarks before we close, Dr. Hiranandani? Any want to pass a message to the industry?
Well, the real estate has gone through a very bad patch ever since demonetization, RERA, GST, and all these things. 2020 beginning showed a light at the end of the tunnel, but again, COVID came up, and I think we've gone through a 6-7 months of great difficulty with no labor available on the sites, and customers not being there. But all this is coming back, so we are all proactive, and and India's needs in terms of real estate is continuing to grow. But there is a problem. Problem is that a large number of developers are not doing proper market study before they actually go for development. They would copy A brand, B brand, and say, oh, if he can do it, why can't I? And that is not a right thing to do. Each player should study the marketplace for his product and his location. And I think if they make a proper study, products will be more linked to the market, post more price familiarity to what it is, customer needs get satisfied. And I think that's the way to go, which was not so in the past. So I think that future looks more proactive as the young people lead this mission to do it. Corporate enterprise is already into it. And I think we look like a great future for India.
Look forward. Thank you, Dr. Hiranandani. It's always good to talk to you. And I think you rightly said driving research and also efficiencies would be very, very important for bringing the industry back. Thank you very much. It's always great talking.
Thank you. Thank you.